You ever notice how people do the same ridiculous things every single day and act like they're accomplishing something? I mean, think about it. You wake up, you hit the alarm, which, by the way, is already a form of torture disguised as a motivation. You hit snooze like it's a personal victory. You drag yourself out of bed, stumble into the bathroom, and spend 2 minutes brushing your teeth while scrolling through your phone. 2 minutes? That's all you're supposed to brush. 2 minutes. And yet somehow you manage to check Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and maybe even a couple of news headlines about stuff that doesn't even matter before the toothpaste foam has fully done its thing. And why? Because routine says you have to. Society says you have to. And nobody asks, hey, does this make any sense at all? Then comes the shower. The shower. A miraculous place where people sing, think, and reflect on the meaning of life while standing in lukewarm water for 15 minutes. And what are you actually doing? Washing off yesterday's dirt. Yeah, but also using more water than a small village needs in a week. You're so clean, yet somehow life still smells exactly the same when you leave. And there's always that moment where you check the mirror and think, am I ready for the world? Well, the world doesn't care if you're ready. The world is out there doing its own absurd thing while you're still deciding whether that third shampoo lather is necessary. Breakfast is a whole ritual of nonsense. People spend 10 minutes making cereal look like a work of art, carefully arranging the milk, the spoon, maybe even sprinkling some powdered sugar on top. And then what happens? You inhale it in under 90 seconds while reading emails or watching a video about some person in another country doing something you'll forget in 2 hours. And don't get me started on coffee. The coffee habit. Millions of people, billions of cups, and for what? To wake up just enough to realize that your life is still the same as it was before the caffeine kicked in. But we keep doing it every day like addicts in a temple of absurdity. Because that's what grown-ups do. Then there's commuting. Oh, commuting. Hours spent in traffic, bumper to bumper, honking horns, making aggressive hand gestures at strangers you'll never meet again. And for what? To sit in a cubicle under fluorescent lights and pretend to do work that no one actually remembers tomorrow. You spend 2 hours each day in a metal box, moving at 3 miles per hour, and then you go home exhausted, pretending that you accomplished something meaningful. Meanwhile, the universe doesn't care. The universe doesn't care if you're on time. The universe doesn't care if you're late. The universe just is, and you are sweating your life away on the highway. People are obsessed with routines like they're sacred texts. Wake up, eat, shower, work, eat, sleep, repeat. And God forbid you skip a step. Skip brushing your teeth for 1 day and suddenly you feel like a criminal. Skip that morning coffee, and suddenly the world is a hostile place. We've built a religion around nonsense, and everyone is a devoted follower. We chant the prayers of productivity, efficiency, and hygiene without ever asking if any of it actually improves our lives or makes us happy. And it doesn't end there. No, it doesn't. People carry these routines into leisure time as well. You go to the gym not because you love it, but because it's on the calendar. You follow workout plans that someone else wrote while pretending that burning calories is more important than, I don't know, sitting on the couch and enjoying a sandwich. You wear fancy gym clothes, take pictures of yourself in the mirror, post them online for strangers to like, and then go home exhausted, thinking you've done something heroic. Meanwhile, the sandwich you avoided probably had more happiness calories than the treadmill ever will. Even grocery shopping is a ritual of absurdity. You make lists, plan meals, compare prices, push carts around like it's some kind of sport, and then you go home and find out you bought 10 cans of beans you'll never open and forgot the one thing you actually needed. And still, we line up in the same stores every week like clockwork, repeating the same mistakes over and over again, calling it adulting. Adulting. That's the modern way of saying I'm trapped in a hamster wheel, but I pretend it's a lifestyle choice. And let's not ignore technology. People spend hours staring at screens as if the little glowing rectangles hold the secrets to the universe. You wake up, check your phone, scroll through nonsense, tap on something, swipe away, tap again, like a Pavlovian response to some digital bell. And at the end of the day, you realize that the only thing you accomplished was proving that you can indeed waste time in the most efficient way possible. Congratulations! You mastered the art of meaningless productivity. The funny part, we all know it's ridiculous. Somewhere deep down, we know that spending 2 hours in traffic, 15 minutes in a shower, or 10 minutes arranging cereal is absurd. But we keep doing it and we defend it like it's some badge of honor. Oh, I have a routine, people say. Yeah, congratulations, you have a routine. And that routine is slowly strangling the spontaneity, joy, and common sense out of your life. But we embrace it because it's comfortable. Because routine is predictable. And predictability is a security blanket for people who are terrified of thinking for themselves. And here's the kicker. The very routines that are supposed to structure our lives are also the ones that make life feel like a blur. You wake up, do the same things, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, repeat, and then wonder where the years went. 5 years pass. 10 years pass. 10 years pass. What do you have to show for it? The same toothbrush, the same traffic jams, the same cereal boxes? And you'll defend it to the death, insisting that this is living. But living isn't surviving a checklist. It's noticing the absurdity, laughing at it, maybe even throwing some of it out the window just to see what happens. So, when you look at your daily routine, ask yourself, does this make sense? Do you brush your teeth while scrolling through nonsense? Do you spend hours in traffic for a job that doesn't matter? Do you worship your morning coffee like it's a sacred elixir? If the answer is yes, congratulations, you're human. You're part of the grand, absurd comedy of life. But the trick is to notice it, laugh at it, and maybe, just maybe, do one thing differently. Skip the routine for a day. Take a detour. Eat your cereal without checking your phone. Walk a different route to work. Stand in the shower and actually think about something real, not just the lather on your arms. Because that's where the magic is. Not in the rituals, not in the routines, not in the sacred nonsense we do every day, but in the little moments where we actually realize life is happening while we're busy pretending it isn't. And that, my friends, is all the permission you need to start noticing the absurdity around you. Laugh at it, embrace it, and stop taking those 2-minute routines so seriously. Have you ever stopped and really looked at all the little rules and social norms we follow every single day, like robots on autopilot? I mean the stuff we do without thinking, because that's how it's done, is enough to make you laugh and cry at the same time. We wait in lines for no reason at all. Not just lines at the store or bank, but lines for absolutely nothing meaningful. People stand shoulder to shoulder staring at the floor, pretending that if they didn't, the universe itself would collapse. And they call it polite. Polite. You're being polite to a line. That's not a living thing. It doesn't care if you're there or not. Yet we bow to it as if it were the 10 Commandments of human civilization. Then there's shaking hands. No shaking hands. We greet strangers by grasping their hands like we're sealing some sacred pact. And then we walk away, never to see them again. For what? To exchange germs and awkward smiles. And somehow this is important. Somehow this is a meaningful part of life. If you refuse, people look at you like you're a criminal, like you just skipped the social norm Olympics. And heaven forbid you hug someone you barely know. Then it becomes invasive, inappropriate, a scandal waiting to happen. Yet all these customs, lines, handshakes, bows, small talk are followed religiously unquestioned, as if centuries of nonsense have turned into an invisible law code that nobody reads but everyone obeys. We also have the absurdity of polite conversation. How are you? People ask not because they care, but because the words are required. You say, I'm fine, even if you're not, because that's the expected response. You could have had the worst week of your life. You could have discovered your entire world is falling apart, and you're still obligated to say, I'm fine. And then the other person nods and says, good, like they've been given the most valuable information in existence. It's ritual nonsense disguised as civility, and everyone plays along pretending it's meaningful. Consider the morning coffee ritual. People line up for overpriced beverages with names they can barely pronounce, and then act shocked if someone gets their order wrong. And yet we defend this insanity because it's a daily habit, a social custom, part of the rhythm of life. You stand in line, you wait your turn, you pay $10 for a cup of liquid anxiety, and then you carry on, pretending you've accomplished something important. Meanwhile, the coffee itself has not changed the world, has not changed your life. It's just another ritual, another mark of obedience to the nonsensical rules of everyday living. And let's talk about clothing, because this is ridiculous too. People wear suits and ties, dresses, expensive shoes, hats, scarves, belts, and accessories, all because society says it's proper. And a proper is the code word for arbitrary, meaningless rules designed centuries ago to separate one group of people from another. You wear these things even if they're uncomfortable, even if they make no sense in the current situation, because the alternative is shame. You see someone in shorts at a fancy dinner and everyone gasps, as if they've just committed a crime against civilization. But the truth is, a hat or a tie does not make you civilized. Following 1,000 arbitrary rules about posture, manners, and dress does not make your life better. It just makes it more absurd. We also have the rituals of eating. Forks, knives, spoons, napkins, placemats, the whole circus. People follow the rules of table manners as if their lives depended on it. And heaven forbid you eat soup incorrectly or slurp a drink. It's as if the universe itself judges your character based on your ability to stab a carrot with a fork without embarrassing yourself. And we call it etiquette, refinement culture. Really, it's ritualized nonsense designed to make everyone obedient, anxious, and constantly worried about doing it wrong. And yet we follow it religiously, because if we didn't, we'd be cast out of polite society. Then there's the absurdity of schedules. People plan every second of their lives according to rules of social expectation. Wake up at a certain time, eat breakfast at a certain time, go to work at a certain time, lunch, nap, commute, dinner, television, sleep. And you follow it because that's what everyone does. And if you deviate, people look at you like you're a threat to society. Want to eat lunch at 2:00 instead of 12:30? Criminal. Want to watch television at 7:00 instead of 8:00? Outlaw. The universe hasn't mandated these times, but the invisible hand of custom beats you into compliance. And we do it without thinking, like good little monkeys. Social media has given this absurdity a new life. People now post things because that's what people do, because society says it's expected. You see a picture of someone's lunch, their vacation, their new shoes, their new couch, and you scroll past, pretending it matters. And maybe you even feel bad because you didn't take a picture of your lunch, your vacation, or your couch. So now you're trapped in a cycle of nonsense, performing rituals for strangers who don't care. All because rules say you must. Even driving has rituals that make no sense. People signal when they're supposed to, wait for the green light, stop at the stop sign, wave at someone in the parking lot, honk in anger, and then act surprised when someone else doesn't follow the same rules. And why? So society doesn't implode? Or maybe so we all have something meaningless to argue about while moving in metal boxes at 25 miles per hour. We follow these rules because everyone else does, not because there's any deep purpose. And we act shocked, I tell you, when someone decides to break them. The absurdity even spills over into celebrations. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, graduations, retirements. All rituals, all meaningless, unless you assign meaning to them yourself. People buy gifts because it's expected and not because they want to. They sing songs, light candles, shake hands, kiss cheeks, post pictures, and then act surprised if it doesn't feel life-changing. And society applauds. We've turned celebrating existence into a checklist, a ritualized performance of obedience to custom. And yet, despite all this nonsense, people cling to it. Why? Because following rules and rituals gives the illusion of control in a world that is otherwise unpredictable, chaotic, and nonsensical. You follow the steps, you wear the clothes, you wait in the lines, you shake the hands, you post the photos, and suddenly life feels like it's working. Even if it's not, even if the whole thing is absurd. Even if the universe couldn't care less about whether you smiled, bowed, or paid for your latte on time. The beauty of noticing these absurd rituals is realizing how ridiculous they are, laughing at them, and maybe, just maybe, breaking one. Skip the line. Don't shake the hand, eat your soup wrong. Wear that ridiculous hat. Post something ridiculous on social media. Notice that the world doesn't collapse when you disobey a rule, and you don't turn into a monster for refusing to perform the rituals society demands. Because the truth is, most of the rules we follow every day are invisible chains we've accepted without question. And once you notice them, once you laugh at them, once you see the absurdity, you're free. Free to live your life on your terms, free to stop performing for the approval of strangers, free to do what actually matters instead of what it should matter. And the best part? Nobody dies, nobody cries, and the world keeps spinning. In fact, it might even be funnier, brighter, and a lot less stressful if more people started ignoring the rules. And that's the gift of noticing the absurdity of social norms, the rituals, the lines, the handshakes, the polite greetings, the schedules, the celebrations, the clothing, the food, the coffee, the posts, the tiny everyday acts that we follow blindly. Once you see them for what they are, once you laugh at the insanity, once you realize life is too short to bow to nonsense, you start living differently. You start living like a human being, not a participant in an endless pageant of absurdity. Because life isn't about following rules that don't make sense. Life isn't about rituals you never question. Life isn't about pretending that meaningless habits somehow define your value. Life is about noticing the ridiculousness, laughing at it, and doing what actually matters to you. And once you do that, you realize that all the lines, all the handshakes, all the coffee orders, all the polite conversations, all the absurd social norms, they were never the point. The point was noticing them, laughing at them, and finally, being free to just live. Have you ever really stopped and looked at the rules we follow every single day, like obedient little hamsters on a wheel of nonsense? I mean, it's spectacular if you think about it. Humans have invented more rules for no reason than probably all the monkeys in history combined. And we follow them like they're sacred commandments handed down from the universe. Lines, handshakes, polite greetings, table manners, dress codes, traffic lights, and the kicker is nobody remembers why any of this started. Nobody. We just do it. It's tradition. And traditions, as we know, are things invented by someone else a long time ago, so you could feel guilty for breaking them today. Take lines, for example. Lines are everywhere, and yet we treat them like holy temples. You stand in line at the grocery store, the bank, the coffee shop, the DMV, the line for the line, and everybody's staring straight ahead like they're meditating. God forbid someone steps out of line. They get the stink eye as if they've declared war on civilization. You know what's funny? The line doesn't care. The line is just a collection of people all pretending patience is meaningful. And somehow this ritual makes you feel better about your life. Standing there, staring at the back of someone else's head while waiting for a cup of liquid anxiety. Handshakes. Oh yes, the ritual handshake. We greet strangers by squeezing their hand, pretending it means something. We call it polite. Really, it's just an exchange of germs with a side of awkwardness. You shake hands and then you never see the person again. For what? To demonstrate that you're civilized enough to touch another human being for 3 seconds. And if you refuse, society shames you like you just skipped Civilization 101. Seriously, it's bizarre, yet we all do it. Millions of people shaking hands every day, nodding, smiling, and pretending it's meaningful. And then there's small talk. How are you? People ask it like it's a sacred question. You say, I'm fine, even if your life is a dumpster fire because that's what you're supposed to say. And they nod, like they've learned something vital about your existence. We've ritualized communication into meaningless words strung together like a cheap necklace. Politeness has become a performance and everyone's acting. And the coffee ritual. Oh boy. People line up for hours. Okay, maybe 15 minutes. But still, for overpriced cups of foamy, sugary, overpriced liquid anxiety. You could be anywhere, doing anything, and yet standing in line with 20 strangers all desperately hoping their caffeine fixes them for a life they mostly ignore. It's a daily religious ceremony. And heaven forbid the barista messes up. Suddenly the world is ending because you didn't get your half-calf, double foam, extra optimism caramel latte. And yet we all defend it because it's tradition. Coffee line tradition. Because nothing says civilization like obeying arbitrary rules in a cardboard cup. Clothing, don't get me started. Humans spend hundreds of dollars to torture themselves with shoes, hats, belts, ties, scarves, scossaries because society says it's proper. Proper. Who decides proper? Some guy in a fancy coat in 1897. You're wearing a tie that cuts off your air supply to look civilized. You're wearing shoes that will ruin your feet for the sake of fashion. And everyone else nods approvingly because following rules is apparently more important than comfort, sanity, or logic. Eating rituals. Oh man, eating rituals are spectacular. Forks, knives, spoons, napkins, placemats, proper posture, passing the salt correctly, chewing with your mouth closed like some mime in a prison of manners. Heaven forbid you slurp your soup. Slurp your soup and suddenly the world judges you. Eating has become a sport of ridiculous rules invented to make people miserable while pretending it's culture. And everyone obeys like a herd of cows waiting for the bell to ring. Schedules. Humans are obsessed with schedules. Wake up at 7 at IRO, coffee at 7:15, leave at 7:45. Arrive at work at 8:30, lunch at noon, leave work at 5:00, dinner at 6:00, TV at 7:00, sleep at 10:00. And if you deviate, people look at you like you've committed treason. Eat lunch at 12:30? Criminal. Watch TV at 6:70? Outlaw. Life has become a constant performance of obedience to invisible rules. And we call it responsibility. And social media. Oh, social media has taken absurdity to a whole new level. We post pictures because we're supposed to. Look at my lunch. Look at my cat. Look at my couch. Look at my dog sleeping in a pose I didn't even train him to do. And then we scroll through everyone else's posts pretending we care. Compare ourselves, feel guilty. Perform more rituals. Post more pictures. The absurdity is infinite, and we all keep dancing along. Driving is a masterpiece of ritualized nonsense. Signal when you're supposed to, stop at the red light, merge properly. Honk if someone's rude, wave politely when someone lets you in. Do it wrong and face instant judgment. It's hilarious because all these rules were made up to prevent chaos, but we obey them as if our life depends on it. Meanwhile, the people who break them are public enemy number one. Traffic has become the stage for the greatest absurd comedy in human history. Celebrations, too, are ridiculous. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, graduations, retirements, gifts, cards, parties, balloons, cake, post, selfie. People do it all because it's expected, not because it's fun or meaningful. We have turned celebrating existence into a choreographed performance, a ritualized checklist, a parade of obligations. You buy gifts you don't want to buy, attend parties you don't want to attend, and smile as if your life depends on it. And yet, humans cling to all of it because rules give the illusion of control. We follow lines, shake hands, wear the right clothes, eat correctly, post pictures, obey traffic laws, attend celebrations, and suddenly life feels orderly. Even if it's not, even if it's arbitrary. Even if it's ridiculous, following rules is comforting because deviating would require thought, courage, and God forbid humor. But here's the beauty. Noticing the absurdity allows you to laugh. At the lines, the handshakes, the coffee orders, the small talk, the schedules, the clothing, the posts, the tables, the soups, the celebrations. Laugh at all of it. And once you laugh, you realize you can break a rule here and there without the universe collapsing. Skip the line. Don't shake the hand, eat your soup wrong. Wear a ridiculous hat. Post nonsense online, the world doesn't end. People might stare, but the line keeps moving, the soup remains edible. The coffee still tastes the same, and you feel a little lighter. Life is too short to bow to nonsense. Life is too short to follow rules blindly. Life is too short to treat absurdity as sacred. The lines, the handshakes, the schedules, the clothing, the table manners, the coffee rituals, the polite conversations, they were never the point. The point was noticing them, laughing at them, and finally living a life where nonsense doesn't rule. And once you realize it, once you embrace the absurdity, the freedom is unbelievable. You can finally see life for what it is. A series of hilarious, ridiculous rituals that nobody invented for your benefit, but which you can choose to follow, ignore, or laugh at. You can live on your own terms. You can laugh at the rules instead of obeying them like a fool. And that, my friends, is where freedom begins. Have you ever noticed how obsessed people are with being busy? I mean, it's like busyness is a new form of currency. If you're not running around all day like a caffeinated squirrel on roller skates, people look at you like you're lazy, like you've committed some terrible moral sin. You wake up and the first thing you do is check your phone to see how many notifications you have. And that's your benchmark for a successful day. If your phone is buzzing, you must be doing something right. If it's quiet, apparently you're a failure. It doesn't matter what you actually accomplished, it's the illusion of activity that counts. And we glorify it. People brag about being busy the same way they used to brag about getting a promotion or running a marathon. Oh, I've got so much to do today, I barely have time to breathe. They say it like it's a medal of honor, and everyone nods in agreement because pretending to be busy is a social requirement. Now,